Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to GME Compass and another Let's Talk conversation. I'm Julie Galano. Today, we're welcoming a guest speaker. We have Nicole Losick Aguilar. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Nicole.
Hi. Thank you, Daphne and Julie and GME Compass. What a great platform that you guys are offering to our community. And I'm so excited to be here. I've been a residency program manager for 5 years, and I've been in GME for almost 30, which is a big, scary number. So I've seen a lot of changes and a lot of things evolve through these years. So this is a really great topic to really hone in on for folks.
Yeah, and hi, everyone. I'm Daphne. I to get that. Nicole, we are actually very, very excited to have you here because your experience has been around process improvement, how to strategize, how to, all those things. And I think as a program coordinator, we have all felt the weight of knowing that there's an issue, knowing that what we're doing in our process is not really working.
So many of us spend our days managing tasks. We feel like we might be sending reminders, deadlines, following up on missing information, putting out fires, right? We feel like we put out a lot of fires, but sometimes it might feel like a people problem is actually a systems problem. So I feel like the first point of conversation that we want to have is the difference between keeping your work moving versus improving the process itself.
Mm.
Talking about the difference between managing your tasks versus fixing the systems that are affecting those tasks.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just going to jump right in and share with you guys where I tend to, I think, overanalyze some things. I'm using the word analyze, but I think I overthink certain things. And where my lines get blurred really easily is what is my task versus what is the system. Because I have to touch it and I experience it, good or bad, or, it's something that's imperfect. I assume it's mine, and that's not always the case. And that's
I
where we start, right? Like how
Yeah.
when you
feel
run
that,
across that,
right?
how do you really start to identify what is yours?
Cole, you make a great point, and I think especially if you're new into GME, everything does feel like it should be, or these are all my responsibilities. And to your point, you start seeing and start kind of almost filtering out. Yes, this is a task that should fall under me, but I don't necessarily have to completely own it myself, and that takes time to almost kind of be able to navigate.
And I think it's also we care so deeply about our
Yes.
roles, about our positions, about our programs, about our trainees. And I think if you're here, whether you're Nicole joining us as part of our Let's Talk and our discussion, or even if you're just here watching the videos, it's because you want to better yourself. You want to improve, which means you want perfection, you want growth, and you want that upward trajectory. So it really is a personal feeling, right?
Yep. And I think this topic we are talking about specifically recording and GME, but this is a task that you can take on you any element of your life. You're that PTA mom or dad or whatever you're that church lady. We just take on those roles so heavily and identify, and it's because we want to make things better. So really trying to discern and differentiate what is yours.
I feel like as GME professionals, it does go over into our personal how we actually manage our own lives in
Yep.
terms of managing your children and also those tasks, like right, and being able to delegate. And as you were saying that, I was just thinking, I was like, of course, we as GME professionals, of course, this is why, like that, that's how we function
Yep.
professionally. But yes, absolutely.
Same. I was thinking the same thing. As you were saying it, Nicole, I was like, I'm probably not a very good delegator because thinking about it, just going to practices, figuring out
Yep.
dinner, I emptying the dishwasher, just things in your personal life, activities like you said, whether it's church, PTO, your children,
Yep.
your home, or your role, it's very easy to take that on yourself versus identifying what can you fix, what
Yes.
can you delegate, and what is emergent that you have to do in this moment.
Absolutely. I was trying to like kind of, but I was prepping a little bit for this, trying to figure out what do you do that, right? Like what do you guys think that should feel like? How would you identify what is your task versus what is a system situation that's beyond you that you shouldn't own.
For me, I'm a checklist color code kind of girl. I totally am. Like, I have in front of me my notebook. I have 2 chalkboards on my wall. One is
Yeah,
a
I would say like
calendar chalkboard
this.
and
Yeah.
one yeah, and one is a big one that I have my to do. I have let's talk, those types of things. And that allows me to take a bird's eye of one, get the things out of my head and onto a board or a paper or something like that. And I just feel better looking at all of the things in one place.
Yeah.
And then some days I might start with the low hanging fruit because I just feel like I need to, my personality needs to check a box. I need to feel like I've gotten something accomplished. And then some days I have the time, the bandwidth, the energy, or the need and priority to do something big that might be a huge task that is more of a systems task, but it helps me to look at everything don't all bubble up and then make me feel anxious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of similar. I actually started the reverse of what is it like? Because my plate naturally, both, in all different realms, it's like it always feels like it's overflowing. I actually start looking at those things that are like that I don't necessarily have to do. Could I follow up and make sure that X gets done? Yes, that gets done. Now, every task does not belong to me. Do I have to have a pulse of where everything is? Absolutely. So actually, I want to say like within the last 6 months to less than a year, my mentality had a mind shift of that. I would make an entire list of everything that I need to do. It's like, what are the things that I could do that are the quickest that I can get off my plate and then also make it feel like I've accomplished something because to try to like narrow down that list and then be able to but again your first instinct is to do that low hanging fruit like right because
Mhm.
again you want to have also to that sense of gratification that I actually did something today like not only was I putting away fires because again we're always putting out fires and you don't appreciate that that's also a task that we're doing on top of the other things.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I really have an issue with my blurred lines a little and just naturally saying, oh, this is all mine, right? And we have our wonderful list and I've got 17 of them in all the places digitally on the post-its. But what I have had to kind of change my style just to manage like the workflow, just to manage myself, right? Our wellness. I really had to say, okay, let me look at what this is truly mine. And the kind of way I kind of started asking some questions when it comes down to it. Like really, who is the accountable person for this? Like truly, what is the accountability factor? Is it me? Is it my institutional coordinator? Is it a GME department? Could it be actually put back on a resident or a fellow? Like, who owns this? Like, who should this really be coming from? I manage it, but managing is very different than ownership.
It's interesting too.
Testify.
Yeah.
That's interesting too, though, because it's like you're identifying your tasks and what is your responsibility versus your oversight.
Yep.
But when the system breaks down and the operational systems start to break down, that feeling that you might put on yourself of,
Mhm.
oh my goodness, this is hitting the fan. I have to fix this, right?
Yes.
And it's interesting you said it's Julie because we are part of that system. Like, right, we're talking about ourselves as, we're the task manager, we're trying to imagine the task, but we're also very much part of that system. And one thing that my PD would always say is just like you never want to have a single point of failure. That's kind of like what happens when you then want like everything, like, yes, could I do everything? Can I make sure? Yes. But then realistically, like, am I managed? Like, it's not that you can't do the task. Can you manage all the tasks and everything that comes with it. And when we hold on to like everything and things like that, like we become that single point of failure. Cause then when you remove us, now everything crumbles. And that's not necessarily the goal or what you would want in your program. Like, right? Like as important as we are, if we are not able to be there, the systems should still run.
Yes.
I feel
And
like that what you just said there is the pearl in today's talk.
Yeah.
right? Like, I feel like that is your mic drop learning point moment. I feel like that's the mic drop moment of, right, if you keep it to yourself and you don't communicate it, you don't delegate it, you don't identify it, we become the single point of the system's failure, and
Yeah.
keeping that in mind.
That it's true. I go at least once a week with I am not multitasking, I am multi-failing because it's impossible. And I don't want anyone to feel like a failure or think that mode at all because it's inevitable. We take on all that's what really this is for. So we can, have those small victories, have those big ones, and how do we process that, right? Like, how do we improve our process of process improvement?
That's actually really interesting, and I think a lot of process improvement changes, because that's really what we're
What
talking
are we
about
talking about?
today, right? Is it comes down to data,
Yes.
proved communication, thoughtful communication,
Yep.
and whether you own and are responsible, or you're managing the process, you can help others to see opportunities for improvement.
Def-
So, how do you do that? What does that look like? What do you do in those different situations, when you feel exactly what you're speaking to, Nicole? When you feel that sense of overwhelm and you want to just keep swimming, but you feel like you're just drowning.
yeah. And I think that really, and I go back to just trying to figure out how to identify those things, right? Like what truly becomes low hanging fruit, but what is yours? And I keep going back to that because it took me a long time and I'm still working on it. I try to ask some questions about each of the tasks, like who is that stakeholder? Who does that and what does that impact? If it truly impacts directly to my program, to what I'm doing in my residence, then it is mine. If
At the
it's
end of the day, right?
right, yeah, like it's mine. If it truly impacts them and I'm the single source, it's me. So then I know there's no question, there's no doubt there. But once it starts moving up that food chain a little bit, and then we start getting into, who are those ultimate stakeholders? Oh, now this is actually becoming an institutional thing. Okay, well, let's see who's involved in that and what can we do to connect those dots so they can work on things as well. And we're identifying it, we're pointing it out, we're bringing it to the table, but it's not necessarily us to fix it.
And I think exactly what you said is important too, is that the communication, because we as program coordinators, we
Yes.
talk so much in probably almost every presentation or talk that we have about how our fingers are on all of the pulses. We are the ones that are completely and totally immersed in everything. So we might identify the problem, but the system around us doesn't necessarily know that it's happening or aren't ready to receive it. And one of the things that I learned, because all three of us have, between the three of us, we have what, 30, 50, 65 years of experience between the three of us,
We're
right?
senior citizens.
Crazy, isn't it? So, but over those years, I learned that it's not always what you say, it's how you say it. Different
Yes.
Hmm.
people on the teams or different people in the systems receive information differently. So, thinking of people that I've worked closely with over the years, I might have had someone that I worked with that is the fixer, right?
Hmm.
So if I would call her and I would say, this, and this is hitting the fan. This, and this is happening. I don't know what to do. This happened, then this happened, then this happened. That's complaining. Wall shut down, doesn't want to hear I'm complaining. But if I would call and say, "Hey, do you have a minute? I really need your advice on how to move forward." I don't want their advice. I want them to fix it.
Just fix
But
it.
I
Yeah.
know that she's gonna just block me off as soon as I'm complaining. But if I ask for advice, she's going to give me advice and then take it. Right. But
Yeah.
then you might have someone who wants empowerment to say, to from a delegation perspective, like how we said in the beginning, where you might know that these fires are happening and you're working on the low hanging fruit, but now you have these fires and there's someone else on the team that you can say, "Hey, I really need your help. I need to take care of this emergency, but can you input these evaluations for me because
Mhm.
these really have to get out? Or can you help me with this schedule? And that makes them feel needed or wanted or empowered as part of the team. And different people
Mhm.
things and are inspired differently depending on how the situation is framed.
And use your team. I mean, you
Yep.
pretty much said it, Julie. Use your team. And I think that as much as we say we know that we have a team, we have our PDs, our residents and faculty, like we really do feel like a team of one, or like we do feel like we're the ones that have to. So, but using your team and playing to those strengths in those moments where, it is a fire that you're trying to put out. Like, again, this is when all hands on deck, we all come together, as a team, as a community, and we solve that issue. Hey, you do this, you do that, and be able to help each other out. But essentially use your team to be able to help you get out of those situations. Like, the day-to-day naturally, like, that you're
Mhm.
managing those tasks and things like that. But then, like Julie says, in those moments where you're I really need help. And I agree with you, Julie. Like, you also get to know, you get to learn as part of like the system, excuse me, you get to learn within who is part of that system, what, and what pieces of that they're able to help, like they're able to help with or give you advice on. And the delivery is also, again, very important as well, because,
Yes.
again, if you complain, like, what do they say? Don't come with complaints, come with solutions. Like,
Mhm.
right. So, and to your point as well, like I've had conversations too where I'm like, I could, I really kind of need advice. I already know and I have an idea. I already think how I want to fix it, like, right? But I need to be able to get you on my board. So I kind of need you to think that it was your idea. Like, right? Or like something along those lines.
And I think and timing is truly a thing. If you're in the
Mhm.
heat of the moment, we're
Don't play the hero at that point.
it's not gonna happen for you. It just isn't. We've been through it too
Mhm.
many times because then
That signal.
it's a complaint to the world's on fire. It doesn't we can't put out a good product or a good pitch. We just can't it just we're in the moment and they're not ready to receive it. We're not ready to dish it out. So definitely choose your timing. Choose your, find the one. You may have to go to two or three or four or five people in
Yeah.
all different communication styles, the sit down, the email, the data, data points. They want facts. Especially if you're going to a chair or somebody, you're escalating it through the ranks. They want you know who needs what.
Hmm.
You learn that. And if you don't know it, try it and see how it works out for you. This is also a learning opportunity. Find something that you kind of want to test the waters if you're new or you're with a new team. It you ask around a little, but you'll learn who's who and how they operate. And that goes for yourself.
That's true, and to exactly what you said in the beginning, that it's not necessarily only how your team receives your information, but
Hmm.
it's having the self-awareness and the
Hmm.
self-reflection to know how you give information and
Hmm.
to think about how you process information. I know that I lean anxious. So,
Yeah.
I need to talk through it and I need to feel the feels. So what I often tell myself is like there's power in the pause. Exactly what you're saying of knowing that you
Hmm.
take that moment to take a deep breath, to feel the
Yes.
feels, to think through it, strategize through it,
Hmm.
Mhm.
and then deliver it, you know? But
Yeah. If
having that
anything,
reflection.
yeah. If anything, like I think that's like a real highlight. When you were saying that, all I can was highlighting everything that you said, because it's, I think those are also some of the challenges that as coordinators, that we have of like having the self reflection, but also being okay with the
Mhm.
fact that, right, you already know where I'm going with this, like,
Yep.
right, being okay with the fact that we might not be able to fix it. And that is okay, even if, we might have the idea or anything like that, but like sometimes we can't fix it. And being okay with that, having that insight to be okay with that. Because, if you take that in or take that, like, again, we're just so passionate and we care so much about what we do, that when you care about something so much, you just want to do what's best for it. You want, and what you think what's best for it at the time is you. And sometimes it's not. Again, single point of failure.
And there's things out there in all of our environments that we're not privy to. As much as we know, we know a
Exactly.
lot. We're in the, we're in the trenches. However, there are policies, there are rules and regulations, there are things out there in our institution and outside in our specialties that we really don't know from a program director perspective, from a DIO perspective, from our funding perspectives.
I think, sustainable improvement rarely comes from working harder. It comes from building and improving your systems.
Mhm.
I think it's an excellent note for us to close on. Thank you so much for joining us during our Let's Talk conversation. And I
Thank
think
you.
it would be great. This is a great segue to inspire our audience to think about what processes in your program that might have become significantly better because
Mhm.
someone was willing to challenge that status quo and challenge the fires that are coming across their desk to think about how they can improve and change the bigger system that's behind it. So, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.